Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of AEW Dynamite for February 26th, 2020. What is that music? Do you guys hear music right now? Hold on one second. We're having some technical difficulties here. Do you guys hear music? Hold on one second. That was so weird. I'm not sure what just happened there, but I heard in my headphones a commercial. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. That has never happened to me before. I started the live stream and all of a sudden I hear an advertisement and I checked on my computer and on the phone. I had no YouTube pages up or any pages up whatsoever. That was so bizarre. All right, here we go. We're going to start this over again. Welcome everyone to the live No DQ recap of AEW Dynamite for February 26th, 2020. We're live, everybody. Anything can happen. Technical difficulties, but the show must go on. We have AEW Revolution this coming Saturday night on pay-per-view on Bleacher Report, and it is going to be a hell of a show from AEW. I will also be discussing NXT, but what I have decided to do this week is I will be covering AEW first, and then I'll talk about what happened on NXT. Usually I go back and forth, but this week I decided to do a different format and see what you guys think about it. Let's go ahead and start with AEW Dynamite. But first, Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, "Is that your new theme music?" Referring to the music in the beginning. I'm not sure if anybody heard it or not, but it was coming through, blasting through my headphones, and I have no idea why because I had no other windows open. So it'll be interesting to see if it appears on the on-demand version of this video or not. Maybe it was Rift Aronson. Thank you for that, Psycho Jet Black. It probably was Rift Aronson trying to sabotage me once again. All right, the Iron Man match. Let's talk about it. We kicked off AEW Dynamite with the pyro. The matches were recapped for the evening. We went straight to the Iron Man match. Kenny Omega made his entrance. The Young Bucks came out there to show their support for Omega. However, there was no Hangman Adam Page. We had the countdown, the 30 minutes up on the big screen so the fans could see the time, and also the time was displayed on the television screen. We started off with the feeling out process. Pac tried to regroup on the outside of the ring. Omega went after him. Referee went to check on both guys when they were both down. So the referee was trying to avoid countouts and that sort of thing. Let it end clean in the middle. That was the referee's attitude, giving them some leeway. The first big spot of the match was Pac hitting a top rope brainbuster, and then at about the 10-minute mark, they started trading blows back and forth, the boo and the yay, all that stuff. Omega hit 2 knee strikes and then a Tiger Driver 98 for the first big near fall of the match. This was about with 17 minutes left. There were several more near falls. Kenny Omega kept trying to put Pac away, but Pac kept kicking out of the big moves. And then Pac ended up using a steel chair to get himself disqualified, and the announcers brought up, and I believe this is accurate, it's hard to believe though, that this was the first DQ in AEW history. I'm a little surprised by that. I would have thought that at some point there was a DQ, but maybe not. They did say that this was the first DQ in AEW. And this reminded me, I think of, I believe it was the Kurt Angle Brock Lesnar Iron Man match where Lesnar got himself purposely DQ'd and then got a win over Angle after being DQ'd. It's been done several times in Iron Man matches, so it's nothing new, but it's a good angle for these matches. Pac uses the DQ and then uses the chair for the DQ, I should say. And then when the referee was distracted, Pac hit Omega in the head with the steel chair. And then after a 30-second break, the match was continued. The timer started up again. And Pac immediately hit the Black Arrow to tie things up at 1 apiece. At about the 10-minute, 30-second mark, they were fighting on the apron, and Pac hit the Michinoku driver all the way to the floor. Crowd started chanting, "Holy shit." The doctors were out there checking on Omega. While this was going on, we had Pac setting up a table. He put Omega on the table and then did a shooting star press through the table, and Pac got back into the ring. Kenny Omega almost got counted out. Now, here's a question for you guys, because I could have sworn AEW had a 20 count rule, but I think here Omega was about to be counted out at 9, and the Young Bucks threw him back in the ring. So maybe somebody in the chat room could clear this up for me, because I thought it was a 20 count, but in this match it appeared to be a 10 count. Omega was about to be counted out, and with the help of the Young Bucks, just barely got back in the ring and avoided being counted out. But the match continued, and then with about 3 minutes left, Omega was in the submission hold from Pac. And Power Packers 90 says it's 20 seconds in title matches. Thank you for clearing that up, Power Packers 90. Kenny Omega was in the submission hold, and it looked like he was going to tap out. This was similar to Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart when Bret had Shawn in the sharpshooter, and Omega refused to give up, and the timer hit 0, and it looked like the match was going to be a draw. But then Justin Roberts got on the mic and said that the match is going into overtime, and match was restarted. Omega came back, hit the one-wing angel to pick up the victory in the sudden death. And then after the match, Pac just went crazy. He attacked the referee. And then we had a post-match with Tony Schiavone interviewing Pac. Pac was pissed off, of course. And then Orange Cassidy came out. And Pac was like, "This must be a joke, right?" He then decided to beat the crap out of Orange Cassidy, take out his frustrations on him. And there is a follow-up to this, so stay tuned. Ryan King says this channel sucks. Well, sorry you're not a fan, Ryan. I would appreciate some constructive feedback, but it is what it is. Cannot please everybody. Now, this match was incredible. Arguably the best AEW Dynamite match to date. I personally thought that this was the best Dynamite match so far. I thought it was very well paced, very well laid out. They took elements of previous Iron Man matches that were very memorable. I mentioned Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. They took good elements of those matches, and it was just very intense, back and forth, great fight between these guys, great back and forth action, and this was the Kenny Omega that people have been wanting to see. This was the New Japan Kenny Omega that fans have been waiting to see in AEW. I know some people were upset, feeling that, well, Pac should not be losing. He needed the win more. I actually disagree with that. I think Omega has a lot of value, and I think he should be pushed as one of the top guys. He is a superstar. I think that pushing him down is not utilizing him to the best of his abilities. Omega should be a top guy. So between Pac and Omega, I think you got to go with Pac. Just my take on it. So I thought this was a great finish, and I'm glad we got to see Omega do his thing in the United States on national television. We did see the match with Moxley at Full Gear, which I also thought was a great match, but a different kind of match. Not the typical New Japan style match that we've seen from Kenny Omega. So yeah, great stuff here. I highly recommend checking out this match if you haven't seen it. Based Ash Ketchum with a $2 super chat says, Orange Cassidy is a star. They need to push him far. I like Orange Cassidy, and I will talk about the Orange Cassidy Pac build-up in just a few minutes. I do have something to say about that, so stay tuned for that in a few moments. Next up, we had the Inner Circle versus the Jurassic Express. This was a tough act to follow. I mean, they were coming off, like I said, maybe the best AEW Dynamite match to date, but they went out there, had a really fun match. Jurassic Express doing some cool triple team action on Sammy Guevara. Santana eventually made the save, and then Sammy was going to use the slapjack on Jungle Boy Jack Perry when Darby Allin came in. He took the slapjack, and Perry hit the Hurricane Rana into a pinfall to score the victory. And then after the match, Darby Allin backdropped Sammy to the outside onto Santana and Ortiz. Good stuff here. Good build-up for Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara at the pay-per-view. I liked it. Very enjoyable. We had a Cody and MJF video package, which was very well done. And then we had the Best Friends up against the Bunny, or not the Bunny, the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny at ringside. And Orange Cassidy was out there despite getting punched in the face by Pac. He was selling the punch, but Orange Cassidy was out there with the Best Friends. Cat Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, is the Iron Man match as good as the cage match? I wanted to watch the entirety of either matches, but don't know where. Where do I find a full match? Well, I'm sure there's websites out there that have the TNT episodes, like Watch Wrestling. You could always buy a Sling subscription or YouTube TV, which I really like. YouTube TV is a great service, and you can watch the old episodes. They usually have them on demand available to watch. But thank you for that super chat, Ken. I do appreciate it. And I think the Iron Man match was better than the cage match. The cage match was more memorable with the final moment. That particular spot with the moonsault, it's an all-time classic moment. But overall, from bell to bell, from start to finish, I think the Iron Man match was even better. Both were great, though. And Based Ash Ketchum with a $2 super chat says, this is the best wrestling review on YouTube, in my opinion. Well, thank you for that, Based. I do appreciate it. And if you guys don't like the video for whatever reason, let me know. I know last week people were saying that they don't like me going back and forth. So that's why this week I'm trying something different. I'm doing AEW first and then NXT. So let me know. Give me some feedback. Leave a comment. What can I do to make the videos better? What do you like? What do you not like? Let me know. I do appreciate constructive feedback. Alex Bryant with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Alex. He says, hey, Aaron, great stuff you do here. Gets me through a long night at work. Keep it up. Thank you again, Alex. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching. I know These videos are not perfect. I still have a sore throat, so it's the never-ending sore throat. And the problem is I cannot give my voice a rest because I keep doing the videos. Show must go on. That's my attitude. Gotta keep working. And I know there's sometimes technical difficulties, like at the beginning of this video. It happens. When you do a live stream, things happen that are unexpected. And that was definitely unexpected. Wrestling Historian says, quit smoking, LOL. I do not smoke. I'm like CM Punk. I was straight edge before CM Punk made it cool, quite frankly. All right, let's see where we were at. Okay, so the tag team match, Best Friends versus Butcher and Blade. We had a moment with the OC and the Bunny. Orange Cassidy, of course. I like to call him the OC. He's the real OC as far as I'm concerned. He tried to put his hands in his pockets, and Bunny snatched his glasses, put them on. He jacked her bunny ears, put them on, and then put his hands in his pockets. And everything pretty much broke down at this point. And then the Best Friends picked up the victory with the strong zero double team finisher on Blade. After the match, Tony Schiavone interviewed the Best Friends, and it was revealed that at AEW Revolution, it will be Pac one-on-one with Orange Cassidy. That's right, Pac versus the OC. So what do you guys think about this? Excuse me. I know some people are going to say, oh, they're burying Pac. They're doing a comedy match. This is going to be OC's first singles match in AEW, and I think it's fine. I think it'll be fun. Pac's going to destroy the guy. OC's going to do his comedy. I'm okay with it. I know some people are like, oh man, they're ruining Pac now by putting him in comedy matches. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I like OC. I think he's fun. And I say let's see it before we knock it. Now, of course, people say the same thing about WWE, but we kind of know what WWE ends up doing. And AEW's been pretty consistently entertaining. They've had their missteps, you know. AEW has not been perfect, but so far they've been putting on a really solid product as far as I'm concerned. Anyways, Chuck Taylor said that OC will actually try at the pay-per-view. So maybe we will see a little bit more aggression and seriousness from Orange Cassidy. Josephat says, I like this review better AEW first than NXT. Great review, bro. Again, leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If you like this format better or if you want me to go back to the other way, let me know. And thumbs up the comments you like so I could see what you guys think, not just one person, but what comments the majority like and don't like. Matt Phillips Reviews with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that. He says, could you see Chris Jericho being inducted into the Hall of Fame whilst in AEW, or will WWE wait until he is done? They will wait until he is done. I do not see Jericho going into the Hall of Fame while he's under contract to AEW, because it's basically free publicity for AEW. Now, Ric Flair did go into the WWE Hall of Fame with the Four Horsemen when he was still under contract to Impact Wrestling, excuse me. But that was a different scenario because Impact wasn't really considered competition. Remember, guys, WWE never even acknowledged TNA/Impact Wrestling's existence. AEW, they consider AEW competition. AEW's a bigger deal than Impact. So yeah, it's not going to happen. Jericho will go in one day, but it'll be after his AEW run is over. All right, moving on here, we had a women's fatal four-way match, which I really wasn't that invested in. I think they should have used this time to build up the women's title match. No Nyla Rose on this show. No Chris Statlander. Why not have Chris Statlander in a singles match and continue to build her up as number one contender. This match was a little strange to me because they were teasing Big Swole as a possible contender last week. This week it was Yuka, I'm going to botch this, Sakasaki, I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, versus Big Swole, versus Shanna, versus Hikaru Shida. I think that's the pronunciation, but not positive. I just like to call Yuka the Genie because she's got the Genie outfit. The crowd really likes her a lot. They're very much behind her, but it was Shida that picked up the victory. So it felt a little random to me. Again, Big Swole was being teased for a title match, and she gets pinned. She was the one that took the pinfall here. Shida hit the running knee strike and won the match. And Yuka, the Genie, the crowd loves her, and she doesn't win either. So little random to me. I thought this was probably the weak point of the show. Like I said, I would have preferred to have seen Chris Statlander in a match, build her up for the pay-per-view. Really, that's the only match that didn't get much build-up, was Nyla Rose versus Chris Statlander. It just feels like it's being thrown together. We had a backstage promo with the Dark Order hyping up their match against SCU at the pay-per-view, AEW Revolution, this Saturday on Bleacher Report. And interesting little note here is that Evil Uno said that they will show the world that Christopher Daniels is obsolete. Now, that, of course, is a line used by Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero. So a little tease for something. They said the Exalted One is close. Matt Hardy was tweeting during the show mentioning both NXT and AEW. Interesting. Is this a tease for Matt Hardy, or is this a tease for something else? Is this a swerve to make you think it's going to be Matt Hardy when it will be somebody else? Now, keep in mind, Matt Hardy is under contract until March 1st. AEW Revolution is February 29th, I believe. Yeah, the last day of February. So technically, I don't think Matt Hardy can be on this show. So they may wait until after Revolution until we see the Exalted One, if it is even Matt Hardy, which maybe this is a swerve. Maybe AEW has somebody else in mind. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, what if the Exalted One is Rift Aronson? Better not be. That's all I got to say. I will not be amused if it's Rift Aronson. But then again, anything's possible. We had a pre-taped interview, which was before the show in the empty arena. Jim Ross interviewing the tag teams, Kenny Omega and Adam Page, along with the Young Bucks, talking about the match this Saturday at Revolution. Matt was talking about how he could not imagine Adam Page and Omega being tag team champions since they were primarily singles wrestlers. But he said he's proud of them. They're their best friends. Kenny Omega talked about how they were at the right place at the right time, and it all just came together. He praised Young Bucks, said they're still the best tag team in wrestling. Page started getting upset, feeling like Omega just saw this as one big accident. And Omega tried to say it wasn't really an accident, but it was situational. It was all the pieces coming together. Page was getting upset, and JR was asking Page why he was feeling uncomfortable. And Matt wanted to know why Page was bringing a drink, an alcoholic beverage, to the interview. Matt then talked about how the Elite, at the end of the day, the Elite is bigger than the tag team titles, and they'll always be friends. You know what that means. Page responded by saying he tried to leave the Elite at one point. And then Nick started getting upset and said that Adam Page was nothing but a jobber. He used the word jobber in Ring of Honor and said that the Young Bucks made Adam Page a star by recruiting him into the Elite. Page then got up, said his drink was empty. He took off. He was pissed off about being called a jobber. So interesting segment here. What did you guys think of this? The jobber line reminds me of when Mark Mero referred to, what was his name? Salvatore Sincere as a jobber way back in the day. And I know that's the Young Bucks routine. They like to make all the insider references. Psycho Jet Black says Omega should turn heel on the Bucks. That would be quite the swerve. I'm not expecting that to happen, but that would be a swerve since everyone thinks it's Page that's going to turn heel. What if it's Omega that turns heel and turns against the Bucks? That would be something else. Son of Rift Aronson. What? I was not under the impression that Rift Aronson produced any offspring. He says not a fan of this segment. And Kim Hall says, I feel like this brooding Adam Page storyline is getting stale. I hope they resolve it soon. Well, I think it's meant to be slow burn, Don't just get it all done in a couple of weeks, Let it play out, give it some time to have the story develop. So, yeah, I think at some point we should see the next twist in the story, but I like what they're doing so far, and I don't think they need to rush it. At the same time, you don't want to drag it out too long. So it is about finding the right balance, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. Again, I think the best way to go is Adam Page cheats, and they retain the titles, and Kenny Omega has a moral dilemma because Adam Page is cheating, but Adam Page is also his friend. So what does he do? And you keep that storyline going. So that's what I would like to see personally. It was announced that next week there will be details on the signing of Lance Archer, who was formerly Lance Hoyt. He wrestled in WWE for a brief period. He wrestled in TNA, and he's been in New Japan Pro Wrestling, making a name for himself. Pretty big signing for AEW. We'll see if they could do something with him. And then we had the main event segment, which was the weigh-in. This was very MMA/boxing-like. You had the women there standing with the scale. You had photographers. Inner Circle came out, and the Inner Circle members were acting like an entourage in a boxing match or an MMA fight for Chris Jericho. You had Gary Michael Capetta, who is a former WCW announcer. He actually did announcing for WWF, believe it or not, back in the early 80s for a period of time before the WWE really became national. He did it mainly in like the Philadelphia region. But then he did WCW announcing late 80s through, I believe, 95. He was still doing announcing for WCW. So pretty cool to see him back. He was the MC for this. He was the host. Chris Jericho came out, and Gary instructed Jericho to step on the scale. Jericho was not happy about this, though, because Jericho said he should be getting weighed last, not first. And he said, and I quote here, "Judging by your technique, no wonder WCW went out of business." Ouch. That was quite the burn. That was a pretty good line there, even though Gary had nothing to do with WCW going under, but nice little shot at him. Moxley stepped on the scale and came in at 234 pounds. The crowd was getting on Jericho's case, and he told the fans to, quote, shut their asses. At this point, the crowd started doing a Kansas City Chiefs tomahawk chant. Jericho referred to one of their players, I'm presuming, calling that guy a piece of shit. which got a lot of heat. Crowd chanted asshole, of course. Jericho got in Moxley's face, and then Moxley headbutted him, which led to all hell breaking loose. Inner Circle went after Moxley. Dustin Rhodes ran down, went after Jake Hager. They brawled through the crowd, went into the concession area. Darby Allin came out. He had his skateboard. However, Sammy Guevara got the upper hand and used the skateboard on Darby. Then Moxley went for the paradigm shift on Jericho when Sammy hit a low blow on Moxley. Jericho then took Moxley over by the scale and gave Moxley his own finisher, the paradigm shift on the scale, to close out this week's edition, the go-home edition of AEW Dynamite, leading into the Revolution pay-per-view. Now, for those of you that missed it, myself and Jeff Meacham did predictions for both Super Showdown and Revolution. It's up on the No DQ YouTube channel. I predicted Moxley to win the title, and I am doubling down on that. Not only did Jericho get the last laugh, but he laid out Moxley with his own move on the final show before Revolution. So, I should also note that Jericho was bleeding from the headbutt. Moxley hit the headbutt, Jericho busted open, but Jericho took out Moxley. And another thing I forgot to mention was that Jericho is going on tour with Fozzy again in a couple of months. So I definitely see him dropping the title sooner than later. I don't see him being champion. I mean, he could be champion while touring with Fozzy, but I feel like he'll drop the title and then do his stuff with Fozzy and maybe do an occasional appearance. But yeah, I think Moxley's winning the title on Saturday. Overall, great AEW show. Another top-tier show. Solid A for AEW. Again, maybe not an A+. I would have liked to have seen something with the women, maybe with Chris Statlander, Nyla Rose, but this was a really great show from AEW. Iron Man match was amazing. Definitely check it out. Psycho Jet Black says, with a $2 super chat, thank you for that. He says, should AEW give someone the Roman Reigns push? I mean, ultimately, AEW should try to make a mainstream superstar. So yes, if they can find a guy that has all the tools, I say go for it. Give that guy the main event monster push, because you want to go to the next level, and you need a mainstream superstar. You need a Rock or Stone Cold. If AEW really wants to gain that level of popularity, that's what they're going to need. Wrestling, I feel, is still a star-driven business. Yes, the brand sells, but what makes wrestling popular to the mainstream is when you have that iconic superstar that transcends, that goes beyond the wrestling bubble. So I would say yes, somebody should be getting that big push. It's just a matter of who's the right guy. Jeremy Dorset gives the show an A-. What did you guys think? Let's see here. Supernamic2121 says A++++. So he loved it. Shady Snake with an A++. Lewis with an A. Kim Hall gives it an A. Looks like pretty rave reviews overall for this week's AEW Dynamite. The CS19871 gives it an A, and Psycho Jet Black with an A-. And Marcus with an A. So lots of A's for AEW. Let's move on here. We'll talk about NXT. I'm going to be relatively quick with this since I was mainly watching AEW Dynamite, so I only have a few notes here from NXT. We had a recap of last week's show. Charlotte arrived. She was greeted by William Regal. We had Dominik Dijakovic versus Cameron Grimes. And interestingly enough, Cameron Grimes picked up the victory when Damian Priest ran down and used what I think was a baton, but I'm not entirely sure, on Dominic's leg. And after the match, Dominic had to be helped out to the back. So it looks like we're going to have something going on, some kind of feud between Dominic and Damian Priest. We had William Regal announce a ladder match at NXT TakeOver Tampa to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. I like this. Makes sense since Rhea Ripley's defending against Charlotte at WrestleMania. You got to have a big women's match for TakeOver. So women's ladder match, good stuff here. I approve. Finn Balor came out for a promo, talked about how when he steps into the ring, he's the man. Doesn't matter about the politics. He's done it all over the world, Mexico, Japan, United States. He's won the IC title, NXT title, Universal title. He's done it all. And he talked about it being WrestleMania season. This led to Imperium coming out. And it was the tag team from Imperium. They attacked Balor. Balor tried to fight them off, but ended up being overwhelmed by the two of them. So it looks like we're getting Balor versus Walter at NXT TakeOver Tampa. Interesting match. Was not expecting this one. I thought we were going to get Balor versus Adam Cole. But looks like we're going in a different direction. Maybe Balor becomes NXT UK champion. Should be a hell of a match, though. So it looks like this is where this is going. Colin Andrews says Balor will be getting main roster money to work NXT UK here soon. Well, I will say that Balor working in NXT UK could at least boost up the NXT UK brand, which, as strong as it's been, it's a brand that doesn't really have a lot of discussion because you got the main roster stuff, you have NXT, you have AEW, and then there's NXT UK. So Balor could definitely bring up the stock for the UK brand a little bit. We had a video package. We actually had two of these during the show, hyping up what looks to be a debut. There was a clock in the video, which is part of the gimmick of Killer Cross. He does a thing with the clock, tick-tock. So a lot of people think that this is leading up to the debut of him. Maybe we'll see him in Tampa. We had Xia Li versus Mia Yim. And we had Dakota Kai coming out with Raquel Gonzalez. She's basically the Diesel to Dakota Kai, if Dakota Kai is Shawn Michaels. Gonzalez laid out both Xia Li and Mia Yim, so she is in fact getting that monster bodyguard push here. We had a Velveteen Dream promo. He talked about how beating Roderick Strong last week was not enough, and he told William Regal that he wants Strong in a steel cage match. And it was made official. Next week there will be not one, but two cage matches. Velveteen Dream versus Roderick Strong, and Tegan Nox versus Dakota Kai. Got a little bit of a TNA lockdown vibe here with the multiple cage matches. We had Tommaso Ciampa versus Austin Theory. Predictable match. Figured Ciampa would get the win here, but Austin Theory did put up a good fight. A very game Austin Theory. Ciampa won with the fairy tale ending. And then after the match, he was attacked by Gargano. Gargano beat the crap out of him. Ciampa actually made a little bit of a comeback until Austin Theory went after Ciampa again, and then Gargano got the upper hand. Gargano then sat on the apron and mocked the clap that Tommaso Ciampa does. I'm losing my voice here. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. When I get these colds and sore throats, they tend to linger for a couple weeks, especially when I keep doing the videos. So my apologies. We had a promo from the Undisputed Era. Adam Cole talked about how even though they lost some of the titles, he is still the world champion and they will be whole again. They will continue to be the most dominant force in NXT. We had Killian Dane picking up a victory over Bronson Reed in the battle of the big, bulky guys. We had the grizzled young veterans versus the Forgotten Sons. Before the match, the veterans cut a promo on the Sons, took a shot at the USA, which of course got USA chants. Veterans picked up the win here. It was a pretty long match, but I am just not that invested in the Forgotten Sons. Just nothing about them really stands out to me. So it was hard for me to get into this. And plus, I just felt like AEW was a more compelling show at this point. We had a Tegan Knox interview. She talked about feeling the effects of the table, courtesy of Raquel Gonzalez at the TakeOver pay-per-view. She talked about how Gonzalez will not be a factor in the cage match. And she talked about how the feud with Dakota Kai started in a cage and it's going to end in a cage next week on NXT. And then we had the main event, Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair. Dueling chants for both of them. Charlotte picked up the win with the natural selection. And then afterwards, Rhea Ripley's music hit. Charlotte put on the figure four. Rhea ran down. Charlotte retreated. And the show pretty much went off the air right at that point. Looked like a good show to me, but I have to say, you know, with both shows on at the same time, most of the time, AEW is more compelling to me personally. So it is what it is. AEW continues to be my focal point, but NXT definitely building things up here for not just next week, but also the upcoming TakeOver pay-per-view in Tampa. So that'll wrap it up for this live stream. I apologize for my voice still being a little messed up and the technical difficulties at the beginning. If you did enjoy this video, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Leave your feedback, positive or negative. I do appreciate constructive feedback. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com. Noon Eastern, we got Super Showdown. I will be doing results coverage on NoDQ.com. After the show is over, 4, 5 Eastern, whenever the show is over, I will be doing my live recap. So stay tuned for that. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, when Finn Balor talked about the titles that he accomplished, am I the only one who thought he's going after the U.S. title, a title that he never won? I don't think he would be going back to the main roster to feud for the U.S. title. I think if he was going to go back to the main roster, he would go after the world title. But then again, maybe he was alluding to the UK title, and that's why Imperium came out to confront him, since that's the one title he hasn't held yet other than the US title or the WWE title. But thank you for that, Ken, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a great night, and I will see you all